Iron, and I can see Kene is already here. So, 1 minute, let me just.
The world is looking for experts in cybersecurity, and Nigeria can meet this demand. Cybersecurity and data encryption are currently amongst the most in-demand skills in the world of tech. There are about 4 million job opportunities in the field of cybersecurity and data encryption. Nigerian tech company Think Cyber Nigeria Limited, an operating arm of the Israeli-based world-class cyber powerhouse Think Cyber Tel Aviv, is introducing a first-of-its-kind cyber simulator training program in Lagos, Nigeria, beginning in January 2022, giving 300 young graduates the opportunity to upskill or transition and begin their career as world-class cybersecurity experts. Take advantage of our flexible payment plan to make a leap in your career and sign up today. For further inquiries, call 0909 3771 515. Visit www.cysectph.com and apply now.
Hello, Mr. Ron.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Perfectly. Okay, I'm here and waiting for your instructions. Let's see if when people get online. I know that usually Africa time is different than most people.
Um, what we are still 3 minutes behind. They'll start joining in.
Sounds good.
One of the students I hear, one of the cohorts coming out, I hear the group one team lead. So I think I'm just chat. David was asking me, he's telling me I should let him know when I want him to come in. So that his head is on the road. On. It's not at home.
David, get as soon as possible because if not, you're going to lose him. I'm familiar.
Okay.
As soon as you can get him, try to get him as soon as possible because he's always somewhere else.
Okay. All right. Let's just set the
Just my suggestion.
video running. Sorry. You register. You register. Link. Agreement. Not to threaten me. Not. You ready? Yes. We'll also be paid to have access to 24 hours use. We will be ready to give you what you deserve this time. Sorry. Good afternoon, all, and welcome to Think Cyber Nigeria Fourth Job Fair. On behalf of the Think Cyber International, Think Cyber Tel Aviv, I welcome you all to our first job fair. I'm happy to actually have with us Mr. Ron Buskela, who is a consultant for Think Cyber. Then we have here Mr. Sylvian, who is actually the manager, business manager for Think Cyber. We have Professor Sondo Idu from Babcock University. We have Chizoram Ikeadu from Cyberdome. People are still joining in. Then we have Professor Sunday Idu and the team from Covenant University are also here. We are actually grateful to have you people. While we actually wait, Mr. Ron, Mr. Ron will actually give an opening comment before we bring in the CEO of Think Cyber International. Mr. Ron.
Yes, thank you, ICOM. I'd like to thank, first of all, ICOM for setting up this job training and hiring session. Think Cyber Nigeria, I've been working with them for quite some time, and things are moving very well. Things are progressing. They've had a few trainings. The students look fantastic, and we're very happy that the cooperation with Think Cyber Nigeria is growing, and we look forward to 2023 and 2024 to become great years together. And thank you very much for having me on the call today.
Okay, that's fine. We have Mr. David Schiffman in. I'm actually bringing him to actually give us a presentation, talk about this program before we actually open the floor for the technical guys to do one or two presentations for our viewers in the call. So while we wait for him to come on board, let me just quickly do.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I am currently not at home. So who is with us on the call?
Yeah, everybody's here already.
Okay. So first, Aikim, I would like to show my appreciation for you and your team. After a few good months of training, you've managed to do incredible things. I have to say that I really like the level that you got to. You have skilled people working and doing really nice things in the cybersecurity field. As far as my concerns, usually when I'm starting operations in different countries, I it usually takes some time for them to get to a level that is sufficient enough to work with a simulator, to work for, and to do practical things. And I have to say that from your people, from what I saw, whether it's in the labs, in the scenarios, in the projects that I've also looked at it to see what they're capable of doing, is very, very impressive things. And of course, including all the topics that you started with, whether it was from just starting from the beginning, going into Linux, doing Python things, and moving on to penetration testing. Um, as far as the people and their capabilities are, you can see it as well, like inside the simulator, the level that they got to, the whatever they're able to do there. And for me, it was a great opportunity to meet and to see that the Nigerian people can have such a high level capabilities. Um, that's as far as from my side. Feel free if you have any questions or anything that you would like me to elaborate more on.
Okay, we have on the call Professor Sunday Idowu from Babcock University, and the team from other universities, Covenant University and Bowen University, are joining in. You want to tell them about the university program, how Think Cyber has been partnering with universities to actually build capacity for university students.
One second. One second. Sorry. Can you please repeat your question?
Okay, we have some university professors here to look at the
Yeah.
presentation and affirm how they want to start integrating the training into the university. You want to actually enlighten about the program in other parts of the world.
Yes. I will say that in the last few years, the cybersecurity field wasn't part of the academic world, and when it was very theoretical. During starting from 2016, we've had requests to start building programs for different colleges, for different universities. Oops, wait a second. Wait. I'm having here technical things. I'm not at home, so it's like a little issue. What is this? Okay. One second. I am sorry I wasn't.
So we'll just take a quick break so that you can.
Okay. Okay. Good idea.
So, Mr. David will come back once more for just some minute before we actually get the. I think he's back.
Yes, I'm back. Yes, sorry. Yes.
Okay.
So what was? Yeah.
We're talking about the university project.
Well, I'll say this. I think that you've seen that in the last few months that you were working on um, getting your people to into the penetration world and starting with the different programs that you only started with. You already saw the different possibilities that it opens, and getting your people to be super professional at what they do. So the programs are, what I think Cyber Nigeria has to offer is things like SOC analyst, which is super important and needed all over the place, whether it is people from the bank world, whether it is big organizations, government, um, forensics, penetration testing, right? So there's like, sorry, there's like a lot of different programs that even here in Israel, when the Secret Service is using, or when the police is using, or the army is using, it's like they have their own whatever they're needed, whatever is needed by them. The simulator can give them, and I think that now within Cyber Nigeria, when you're taking your people and you've given them the support that they've needed throughout their training, I think that's incredible, and the options there can only get wider. You were able to take your team, support them through their trainings, and to get them to the level that they are right now. And I'll just say from my experience, I'll just say to the people here that in the last session that we were together, we were taking and seeing how we can generate viruses and malware and Trojans and being able to bypass antiviruses. And I didn't tell you this, but now that I'm working with ESET, we were doing the same things with them. Like, there's a big antivirus company, and they were super impressed with the fact that now they can use that knowledge to find out what their antivirus doesn't alert from or detects, and they can use it in order to improve their product. So I have to just tell you, the knowledge that you have acquired and your students and the people that you're leading have practical knowledge that can do good in this world, and that's where we're aiming for.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. David. Thanks for coming around and thanks for this presentation. We'll move straight to the presentation. The three groups, the cohorts have been broken down into three groups. I believe group one, Mr. Kenya and his team, they are actually ready. They'll be actually showing us how to actually remotely connect into a server and actually do what? Hack from one system to the other. We are trying to actually display. We are trying to display to people what these students, this course capability, and what benefit they can actually give to companies that actually hire them. Mr. Kene, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ikem. Good afternoon, everyone.
You have to share your camera.
Okay. I'll do that in a minute. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'll go straight to the presentation.
Introduce yourself, please. Introduce yourself, please.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ekene Joseph Ejike. I'm one of the cohorts in this year's Think Cyber training, and so far I've been able to garner very, very great skills in cybersecurity, both for penetration testing and a little of malware analysis and defense. So I would go ahead to present the penetration testing for the Windows. For me and my team, we have a series of demonstrations we're going to do. Penetration testing for Windows, for Linux. Then we'd also demonstrate some social engineering techniques and show some of the social engineering tools. So that being said, I would go straight to, okay, just a minute. Let me
share your screen.
Yeah, I'll share my screen now.
All right. all the professors Cyberdome, you can feel free to actually look at students to do justice to actually penetration testing as it's been done standard anywhere in the world.
Please let me know if you can see my screen.
It's up, yeah.
All right, so this is just a brief slide that we prepared just for an overview of what we're going to do. So this is, the world of security and cybersecurity is never ending. There would always be different attacks every day, and we would have to come up with ways to protect companies and organizations against them. So we would be demonstrating some of how these attacks are being carried out. So these are some of the things we're going to do. Elucidate on social engineering and try and get a shell that's trying to connect remotely to either a Linux or Windows machine. Then also building a web page, but for this we're going to use an existing one. Then advisory is just ways on how to protect yourself against it. Then as we all know, social engineering is basically an art of manipulating, influencing, or deceiving someone to gain control and access to their systems. So these are various this is the social engineering threat landscape. Can be done via email, internet, trends, criminal groups, and attack vectors. So this is just an example of a social engineering attack that was done on a company. So we would go I would go from here straight to the demonstrations. And so I have here my Kali Linux running.
Can you please zoom in?
Yes,
Zoom in.
Is it fine?
It's okay. It's perfect now.
All right. So I have my Kali Linux here running, and I also have my Windows 10 here. So for the sake of this presentation, there are some things I had to do behind the scenes, so it doesn't take time and take much of your time. So I'll be explaining some of it. So here we have this tool called MSF Console. This is a tool we can use to try to attack victims, be it remotely or locally. So, but for this instance, I would be attacking my Windows 10 machine. And here is, if you can see my screen, here are some of the, this is more like a social engineering technique. I would show briefly on how to get others to try and access these files. But just for the sake of this, I'll do it locally first, then I'll show the remote one. So if you see here, this is like a picture file that to an ordinary user, everyone would just think is, okay, let's say I'm targeting someone that loves car racing. This is what I'll use. So if I click here, you would see that this is actually an application. But when I zoom in, it looks like just an ordinary picture file. So before I launch this, I would go back to my Kali Linux and I'll just show you that I have some listeners set up. So what all this does is they are listening on a particular port. I set up a listener in my Metasploit MSF console. So what it does is it is listening for any connection from the victim's machine. Like for example, this picture file is not an ordinary picture file. It has a payload. It has a malware embedded in it. So immediately I launch this, I should be able to get like a session on that victim's machine. So I'll just go ahead and launch this file. So after executing the file, in the background, my payload is also running. So it's taking a while to show the picture. It's coming up as a picture file. Okay. Shouldn't be this. Okay, so this is my payload running in this small CMD window here, and this is a picture file. And
sorry, what kind of payload is that?
I used an EXD payload, interpreter reverse TCP payload. That's why I set it up here. This is the payload here.
And it
Windows
has
Interpreter
opened
Reverse TCP.
and
And
it has opened a session
yes,
with
I've gotten a session here on this port. So this is my current machine. It's listening on port 777, and this is the destination machine. That's my Windows. It's communicating with it on this port. So if I type, there's a command called sessions to see your available sessions. You can see I have a session here, and this is the user. The user is this, and this is the connection type. I'll just clear my screen, and I would log into that session. To log into the session, I would say session 1, and it's interacting with the session. Now I can do help to see all the available commands. But for the sake of this, what I'm going to do is I will show the process ID. This is the process ID. And I'll show the name of the process again. Get PID, just to be sure. So this is 1660. If I scroll up, I should see, yeah, this is it. This is the name of the process, PowerShell.exe. So for what I like to do, just to make that session stable, I would migrate the session to Explorer.exe. So it makes the session more stable and prevents it from closing untimely. So you can see here the migration is successful. So the next thing I would like to do now is try to, because if I type get UID, you'd see this is the server name. And this is just like an ordinary user on the system. And there are limits to what I can do with this system. For example, if I want to get like the hashes of all other users on the system, I'll type a command called hashdom. And you see it says operation failed because the user doesn't have sufficient permissions. So I'll take this to the background, and I'll search for a type of exploit to escalate the privileges. They call it privilege escalation. That's the next step I'm about to do. So I'll search for bypass UAC. So you can see here, these are the suggested modules, but the one I'm interested in, that's the one I've tested prior to this session, is, let me just pick that out. Yeah, this one. So I would use this one, use this.
Sorry, why are you performing this particular operation so that you can have?
This is privilege escalation. So I want to have admin access to that, to this Windows machine.
The Windows machine, sorry, the Windows machine you have targeted, that you infected,
yeah,
that you now have
already.
over. Okay, you can go on.
Yeah, so I've selected this particular exploit module. So I can type options to see what is needed. Here, it's all I need to do is set the session. I already have my listening host and listening port. So I'll set the session, set session 1. Also, I'll change this interpreter, this payload, just to suit the current one, the current architecture of my Windows. So I'll change it to set payload to Windows. Sorry, just a minute. x64 / interpreter / reverse _ TCP. So after doing that, if you look here again, my exploit target, rather than x86, because I know the type of Windows I'm currently trying to access or trying to penetrate, I would change this to x64. So I just do show targets, then set target to 1, that's x64. So I can check options again to be sure that everything is set. So now that everything is set, I'll just run my exploit and wait for it. So it's actually running. It's doing its thing right now. So at the end, I expect to get like another session, which is coming up in a minute. So you can see here, I have 2 sessions open now. If I go back to the background and type sessions, you see I have 1 and 2. So I'll log into these 2 sessions. 2. So what I'll do now is get PID. This is the current PID. I wouldn't migrate the process, just to be brief about it. So the aim of this is to change the user or to get a user with system privileges. So if I type get UID, this is the current user. So to get a user with system admin privileges, I'll do get system. So this option allows us to get the system user of that machine. If I type enter, I should attempt to get it. Now that's successful via this technique. I've gotten to system privileges. So I would just to show you sessions. Let me see if this will work from here. Okay. I just want to take this to background and show the sessions again. So you would see here that the user for this session 2 has changed to system, while the first one is still PT. So I don't really need this again. I'll continue working with session 2. I'll log in back to session 2 and clear this. And so with this now, I can perform the hash dump, which I showed you earlier, because this is a system user, a user with privileges. And the idea of this is to be able to get other users on the system and their hashes. So right now that I've gotten this, I can take this, copy this, go to, I'll just go to another terminal. Right here, I would create a file, hashes. I'm just calling hashes.txt. Then I'll save the hashes I've gotten into this file and use a tool called John. So what the tool does is it helps you, it cracks the hashes of that you've stored in that file and gives you the password in clear text. So to use it, I'll say John, then the name of the file, hashes.txt. Then I would have to specify the format I wanted to use. That's the format in which the hash was encoded in. If I know this, I would specify it. But let me just, for example, there are a lot of them. Let me try crypt. Then what else? Okay, I don't need to. Then enter. Okay, so what I'll do is John. Let me try it without the format. So as you can see here, it was able to get the user's password. If I display the contents of the file, you can see for administrator, this is the no, these are not the passwords. Let me do John hashes / show 5 passwords cracked. Oh, okay. Let me just go back to this file and I'll take away this. I'll just take away the username. Take away this and let me just use one user. That's this one. Save this and I'll try to crack it again. John hashes. Proceeding with this. Sorry, in a minute, the hashes are minutes cracking it.
Have you done this before? Have you cracked this before? Because if you should have stored it in the database.
Yeah, let me just check again. -- show. I've cracked it before, but not in this. I can't remember where I saved the file.
Okay, so have you been able to crack any of them?
Yes, but I can't remember where I saved the file.
Okay, and let's move on to the next. Can you demonstrate beef and social engineering?
Okay, let me demonstrate social engineering. I'll try and find out where I did this. And
so the summary of this particular session, can you summarize this session you just did?
Okay, so what I've demonstrated so far is just how to gain access to someone's system But however, I did this remotely, so I would use social engineering to display how we can do it. Sorry, I did this locally, so I'll use social engineering to display how we can do it remotely. So what I would do is I would send out an email. I would send out an email using.
Do
There's
you have
this
your
tool.
do you have your beef already set up?
No, I'm not doing beef. I'm just trying to do like remote session again.
Okay.
So I'll send it to one of my colleagues. So I'll pick Mrs. Patient's email. Then I would send from director and the subject job fair invitation. I would go down here and include the body. So this is like a phishing technique, sending an email in the hopes of getting the user to access the file. So I would copy this. I already have a template here and paste it here. Hi, Ms. Patience, please, you would have to.
Is it possible for you to zoom that screen from the browser, angle, make it bigger so that we can see? Okay, all right, that's fine.
Better.
Okay, it's better.
All right, so this is the recipient's email. That's my colleague, Elisha.Patience. So this is, I would add the subject here. Then from the name, the director, that's from who the email is coming from. That's who I'm disguising to be. I would scroll down and put this as the body of the email. So right here, I wrote kindly download and fill out the form here. It's like inviting her for this job fair. So I would go here. But before I embed the link, I would have to go back here and I need to create like a link for that file. So I would use a tool called ngrok. So ngrok is like a tool that can give you remote access, that allows remote access to your PC. So I would use this to create a link for the file, and it gives me a link here. Anybody can access this link from anywhere. I'll copy this link, go back to my browser, and there's a tool, again, I can use to change the link to look a bit more real, because anybody seeing that link, anybody seeing this, let me just zoom in. Anybody seeing this link would already detect that, oh, okay, yeah, this is fake. But once I click on this shorten, it gives me something like this. I'll copy this, go back to the email and embed it here. So to embed it, I'll just click on the link here, edit, put in here, and okay. So you can already see it's embedded here. So all I need to do now is send this email. Just send. I'm using the free version of this tool, so I can't attach a file. I could have attached a file though, but I can't attach because it's a free version. So you can see here, director, sender. This is the sender. This is the recipient, and complete this capture text, and send for free. Okay, so I've sent the email already. So my colleague should receive the email any moment from now. So while she's trying to access it, please, Mrs. Patience, try and while she's trying to access it, I would set up a listener here using MSF console as well. MSF console. Sorry, let me just do sudo MSF console -QR. I'm going to use a resource file because I already have what I need for the listener in this resource file. So I have, I'm trying to start up my MSF console here and create a listener for the victim. That's my colleague that's going to try and access that link. I can show, I tested this earlier before the session started. So I'm not sure she'll be able to share her screen because I would have liked for her to share her screen and show what the email looks like. But I will show you from my end. All I need her to do is just access that file. So I already have a listener running.
Is it possible to zoom in?
I already have
Mr. Kine, is it possible to zoom in on this?
Yes. Is it fine?
One more.
Is it better?
It's okay now. It's okay now. Yeah.
All right. So I've created a list now. I'm waiting for her to access that file. But in the meantime, I'll show you. Okay. So this is while I was testing previously. This is what
Okay.
the email looks like.
Okay. I'm
Click on
already seeing
yeah.
a session. Has she accessed the file?
I think she must have. So this is what the email would look like. She would need to click here.
Okay.
Let me just check. Okay, I think she has accessed the file already.
Okay, remotely.
So this is like, yes, remotely.
Okay.
So what I'll do is sessions, and see here, this is her system. This is her name. Madaki is her name. So I would log into that session 1. I would take a screenshot of her system. I'll just do screenshot. In a minute, to take a screenshot of her desktop and save it here. And this is the file. I'll just go here and access it. I'm just trying to access the file. You'd see what's on her desktop at the moment. To take like a minute to come up. So I'm using Firefox here to access the screenshot that was saved from her. That's the victim's remote system. The victim system, sorry. So while it is coming up, there are various techniques you can use, like the one I showed locally. You can also get system privileges here as well. So this would take like a minute for it to come up. Sorry for the delay, please.
Both are Windows system. Do you have anything to show us on remote Linux system, or you want to actually display beef? What other things do you have to show to us?
My colleague, Patience, would display Linux, how to gain access to Linux.
Okay.
And yes, then Mr. Maruf would also display beef. So I just wanted to display Windows, how to gain access to Windows, both locally and remotely. And also the social engineering technique, that's phishing.
Okay, which you have just done.
Access.
Yeah,
which I have just done.
Okay,
yeah.
Can you show us where is your central command and control center, where you are monitoring all the Metapreter and results?
I have two different.
The central location.
I have two different ones. This one is it's like a remote one, a VPS sort of. So this is, sorry, just before I continue, this is a screenshot the screenshot I took. As you can see, this is she has accessed the file. In that file, I embedded in the link I embedded. The link is a link to download a file, a PDF file that contains a job form for you to fill out. So if you look here closely, you can see her name here, surname, then her first name, Patience. She's trying to fill out the form. So in the process of accessing this form, that's how I got a remote session. I don't know if it's clear.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's fine. What advisory do you have to give to companies to prevent this kind of attack?
All right, so for this kind of attack, it's a phishing attack. I would show you, this is how the email looks like. So anybody seeing this would think, okay, yeah, this is for today, the job fair for today. Just quickly go, yeah, the managing director sends to me my address, invitation for job fair. Then if you read down here, we're waiting for the kindly fill out the form here. So you think this is all legit. You click on the link and it takes you to that file. But that file has a payload or a malware embedded in it, such that once you open the file, it automatically gives me a session, which I just showed in this place. This is a session I was able to get, which I got a screenshot from. So for ways of preventing this, you would have to sensitize your employees and not just your employees, people around you on about phishing techniques such as this one, and not to click on links from emails from unknown senders. Like if you're not expecting an email from a sender, from anyone. For example, this one is a bit tricky because I used the fact that we have a job interview and the person might just think is legit. But another way of doing it is you have to inspect. You can check the details here and see who this is from. There's a technique you can use to check this by checking the email header, where the email was from. You can see the return part is
Hello,
coming
Mr.
from
Kini.
here.
That's for technical people. The end
Yeah.
users who are not technical people, normal staff, what will you actually, how do you protect them? That's for somebody who is technical.
Of course, to protect them from this, you can, from the IT perspective, you can implement firewalls to check every emails coming in and reject the ones that are from unknown senders or unknown unknown destinations or from servers that look tricky. So should in case this email is able to can evade the firewall, then you have to check all of this properly before you click on links, or you report directly to the IT or to a manager to check if this is a valid email. Then another thing is to, after sensitizing, you need to also set up simulations like this to be able to test and know how your employees are faring to all the trainings you've been giving them regarding the social engineering, phishing email, and other techniques, which my colleague would demonstrate in a minute.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine. Let's have the second person with the demonstration. Please
Okay,
limit your
Mrs.
presentation
Patient.
with a presentation. Limit your presentation to 10 minutes. You
Yeah,
have
this
only,
wouldn't take long.
you have only 2 people coming after you, right?
Yes, only 2 people.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Mrs. Patience, please. You can invite her to share her screen.
Just 1 minute. While she's coming on stage, we can just.
The world is looking for experts in cybersecurity, and Nigeria can meet this demand. Cybersecurity and data encryption are currently amongst the most in-demand skills in the world of tech. There are about 4 million job opportunities in the field of cybersecurity and data encryption. Nigerian tech company Think Cyber Nigeria Limited, an operating arm of the Israeli-based world-class cyber powerhouse Think Cyber Tel Aviv, is introducing a first-of-its-kind cyber simulator training program in Lagos, Nigeria, beginning in January 2022, giving 300 young graduates the opportunity to upskill or transition and begin their career as world-class cybersecurity experts. Take advantage of our flexible payment plan to make a leap in your career and sign up today. For further inquiries, call 0909 3771 515. Visit www.cyse.
Yeah, Mrs. Patience Elisha, you have the floor. You can start. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So you can start. Introduce yourself and share your screen and show us. You are demonstrating how to use what? Beef?
No, I'm demonstrating how to use Linux.
Okay, the Linux attack.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. You can start. You have 10 minutes.
All right, sir. Yes, for the Linux penetration, you have, sorry, good afternoon, everyone. My colleague has already expatiated on how to use the Windows parts. Here, I'm going to harvest the hashes in Linux, how to navigate through it. To do that, you have to brute force the vulnerable machine. That's the machine you want to brute force, which I have already done that initially with Nmap, using Nmap. Nmap, this is for all ports, and the time is, I set it to be fast T5, and this is the IP I'm brute
Sorry,
forcing.
Mrs. Patience. Can you
Yes, sir.
can you zoom in so that they can see your screen a little bit?
Is it obvious?
One more. Okay, it's okay now. It's okay. It's okay now.
Okay. So I use this Nmap to brute force and get all the ports that are open. As you can see, the FTP port is open, SSH, Telnet, SMTP are open. So I just selected some that I feel I'll be comfortable penetrating through them, which are the FTP. I'm going to use this VSTPD. This is the version, the service. Here I use these ports, port 21, port 23, 445, 5432. And then this is service detection for service detection. And then the APA is for operating system detection. And this is the IP for the vulnerable machine. So I went ahead to on my MSF console. We are going to do search. Yes. Yes. I'm able to get an exploit. This is what I will use to exploit the vulnerable
Sorry,
machine, the backup.
sorry. Please, can you just zoom in on this page? It's a little bit small.
Okay. Sorry.
Zoom in on it. One more. Okay, it's okay. I think it's okay
Okay.
this way. Yeah, it's okay.
All right. So I'll do options to see what I need to fill. As you can see, I need to set the R host. I'm supposed to, well, I'll just run it because it's Unix. Yes, I'm able to get this section here. So for, as we can see, for Windows, he uses privilege escalation, but for Linux, I'm just going to upgrade to root. The highest privilege in Linux is root, while the highest privilege in Windows is system. So we are going to check the sections. And here it is. So to get to root, I will use sessions. For root. Right now, I'm getting the Metapreter section. So I'm using session 2. I'm going to interact with this session. If I do ls, that's to see what's in that dimension. I'm in the other vulnerable machine that I'm going to exploit right now. So I'm going to cd.
Are you already interacting with the session?
Yes, I'm interacting with the session. I got a Metapreter session already.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
In this etc, this is where the shadow file is. This is where you locate the password of a Linux machine. And I am going to cut it so that we will see. Like this is the hashes. So I'm going to copy it and attempt to crack it so that we'll see the users. Okay. Just save. I'm creating another file. I've already done that before. Let me just use what I did. Password dot lst. Okay, I have something there. I'll have to clear it up. so that I'll paste what I'm able to. Oh, okay. Shit. Hold on a minute, please. Do not copy all. Hmm. It should be okay. Wow, no problem. We'll use it. So when I ls, I'll be able to see the file, this password.lsc. This is here. It's here.
Okay.
This is it. So I will use John. John. I'll not use anything. Let's see. It's just going to take time. It says that's already load 7 pages with different sources. That's already cracked. Let's do.
You've cracked one already, right?
Yes, sir. I've
So-
cracked one already. I'll do.
Okay. Just
I want.
what you want to show us something else?
I want to show the cracked passwords.
Okay, let's see.
Okay. John. Show. Well, these are the passwords for Postgres. It's Postgres user. Here it is. It's just that it's not in color. But MSF admin, it's MSF admin. As
Okay,
you can
all
see.
right. That's fine. The summary you just showed us. Can you summarize what you just showed us? How you actually scan?
Okay.
Okay, just summarize what you showed us.
What I just did is I was able to penetrate into another Linux machine using their open ports, one of their open ports, because they have several open ports using VSF TPD open ports. I was able to get to their escalate to a root privilege, which is the highest privilege, to be able to view this their passwords list shadow file, which is the password that contains all the password for users in that very machine. So right here, what I would advise is that users should always use a very strong password, like anything like more than 8 digits, or
8 or 15 digits.
8 or 15 digits, up to 15 digits, to be able to prevent this.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I'm sure we have Mr. Maruf Ibrahim getting ready to actually demonstrate beef. Thanks for Mrs. Patience Elisha. I'm sure you do justice to
Thank you, sir.
moving forward. I can remember the first time you were actually coming on. Okay, that's very good. Okay, we'll take a break, and before then, Maruf will be ready to demonstrate. Okay, we'll be moving on to the next section while um, Mr. Mr. Maruf is getting in. Mr. Bola, are you ready for us? Can you speak up? Are you ready for us?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, can you share your screen? Now, the group 2 will be talking about SQL injection. SQL injection is actually the first phase. What you saw is that they demonstrated how you can remotely actually use phishing to actually hack into people's account locally and remotely by sending either email or actually demonstrating. The last guy was supposed to demonstrate a tool called Beef, which actually is used most widely for phishing tool by for malicious intent. But here we actually teach you what we teach, what they perform here. They understand the whole life cycle of the cybersecurity terrain. Now, the last team will be telling you how to now move into automation. You see, they are doing all these things manually, but they have softwares they've developed that can do it automatically. So the team coming after this team will be telling you how to do what, how they can automate all this process. Okay. Yes, you can. Just a minute. Mrs. Anita Okonije, you want to ask questions? You can, definitely. Just let us know if you have questions to ask. This is the second session. Yeah, you can ask questions. So they will pause at the point in time, then you can ask them questions. Okay, can you show your face and actually introduce yourself, Mr. Bolao?
It seems my camera is not enable.
Okay, can you first show a blank screen first and introduce yourself, please?
Okay. My name is Aaron Brown. One of the co-hosts in this training for this cyber training. The good head for the two.
Your volume is low. Can you increase your volume?
Oh, sorry about that. I'm the group head for the two. In this presentation, we'll be talking about expert injection, preventive measures, and we're going to have some advisory measures too.
Sorry, Mr. Bolo, just a minute. Mrs. Anita, I want to bring you to the floor so that you can actually ask questions you want to ask before we move on with this session. So we have Mrs. Anita Okoni Jane from Cyberdome Nigeria Limited. She has 1 or 2 questions to ask. So we'll take a pause here. Then after the questions, we'll continue with the presentation. We'll continue to the next step of the presentation. While she's coming up, let me just try to do one more advert. Miss Bola, you can hold on, but try to actually put up a system with the camera. You can stop sharing your screen.
Okay.
The world is looking for experts in cybersecurity, and Nigeria can meet this demand. Cybersecurity and data encryption are currently amongst the most in-demand skills in the world of tech. There are about 4 million job opportunities in the field of cybersecurity and data encryption. Nigerian tech company Think Cyber Nigeria Limited, an operating arm of the Israeli-based world-class cyber powerhouse Think Cyber Tel Aviv, is introducing a first-of-its-kind cyber simulator training program in Lagos, Nigeria, beginning in January 2022, giving 300 young graduates the opportunity to upskill or transition and begin their career as world-class cybersecurity experts. Take advantage of our flexible payment plan to make a leap in your career and sign up today. For further inquiries, call 0909 3771 515. Visit www.cysectph.com and apply now.
Yes, we are back. And Mrs. Anita, you have a question you can ask. You have the floor. Hello, Mrs. Anita. Are you there? Sorry. Okay, I guess you can just send your questions by typing it. Ekene, can you demonstrate beef? We're finding it very, very hard to bring in Maruf. So let's have Ekene come back one more time to actually demonstrate beef. But I've actually invited you. Okay, 1 minute. Let me see their questions. Okay. Yes, they can proceed. Okay, all right. Okay, Mr. Ekene, start demonstrate. Can you demonstrate beef before we bring in before we bring in Obolao?
All right. Hello, everyone. Just a minute. I would share my screen and to demonstrate beef. So a brief introduction about beef. Beef is just a browser exploitation framework tool that allows threat actors or the hackers to be able to get a hook. The term is using a hook. The term is hook, to get a hook on someone's browser and try to either harvest his credentials, to just to cause malicious intent, get cookies and all of that thing. So I would share my screen and show that in a minute. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, but zoom in a little.
Yes, I would. Just a minute. Speed. Is it better?
It's okay. It's okay now.
Okay, so for this, I would be demonstrating the local exploit. I did not prepare for the remote exploit. So I'll just launch the tool, Beef. But after demonstrating the local exploit, I would show how you can do that remotely. So the tool is starting right now. In a minute. Okay, so if you look here, you would see my network interfaces. I currently have 2. So this one right here is my loopback address. This is for like local exploits. This is also my local interface, network interface. While here is the remote one, which I haven't set up. So this is just a way to use the remote one. You have to go to the config file and add this line to this URL that you want to use for the remote setup. But for this case, I'll be using this local one. This, if you look here, we have 2 different URLs. One is called the hook and one is called the UI. The UI is the interface where you can interact with the victim's machine, while the hook is the malicious JavaScript you're going to inject into a web page. So for that, I'll copy this hook, and let me stop this. Then I'll go to my web address, my web directory, that's var HTML. So I already I've cloned a website already, but all I'm going to do now is inject my malicious script into this index.html file. I would edit that index.html file using, index.html using Nano. This is my web page. I would go scroll down here. You can include the script anywhere, but this is where I want to put it. So it starts with script, then the source src is equal to, src, the sources, the source is a hook address. I'll paste this here. No, sorry. Control P. I have to type this manually. Okay. So I have to type it manually. HTTP 10.10.10.9 hook. Sorry. Okay. 300. So I have to include the port as well.
Is it 300 or
Colon
3000? Is that in 300?
3000, sorry, 3000 hook.js. .js. And I'll do this, close this. Scripts. So I have my malicious JavaScript embedded in this web page. I'll save this. Yes. Enter. So next thing to do is start my Apache service. That's my web browser. Just do Apache restart. So it's restarted now, and all I have to do is first open the beef URL, copy this, go to my browser.
Sorry. You know what you can do for me? Can you convert this URL into a normal, how will I put it? Web, use bit.ly, convert it.
Okay.
Then use that link so that they will know that you can actually get that.
Yes. So I displayed this in the last while I was doing that phishing email. So here is a tool you can use to convert this. The attacker can use this to convert, and see when I click on shorten, it gives me this. It's just to mask all this IP address. I'll go here and visit it. So this is like the Beef's web interface. I would log in and save. So after logging in, I would have to visit the web page, and the web page is running on my local. It is running here on my local host. So the address, I would quickly convert the address. The address is it's like my web page is running on this http colon 10.10.10.9 colon 8081. So this is where my web page is running on. So I'll shorten this. I'll take this and embed this in my phishing email or whichever method I want to use to distribute this, to distribute that link. I would go to my Windows 10 machine, start my browser, and visit that link. So this could as well be distributed via email, could be distributed. It can be embedded in like a game because there are some people that like free softwares and free games to get on the internet. It can be embedded in that as well. Even pictures, any file. I'll visit this link. And let's see. All right, so this is like the web. This is what is running on my web server. That's on Kali. It's just a game. I git clone this from a particular repository from GitHub. So if you look here, it changes to the IP address of my
sorry,
my
but
machine.
where is the Beef user interface?
Yes, I'm going back there.
Okay.
This is what the user does. The user visits this link, and when I go back to my interface here, I should get a hook on it.
Okay, better.
Just a minute. Sorry. Let me try to. So in a minute, I should. Let me reload this page. I should get a hook under this online browsers. Sorry.
But that's the hook showing.
Not these are offline browsers.
Okay. Those are
Yeah. Let me just check this quickly. Genie index.html. Take this out of here.
Put it in the head.
Yeah, let me just inject it here. Save this file and close it. And restart my service. Let me revisit that page again. Okay. Back to this. Refresh this page. This should come. Let me check this one more time. Let me just use a fresh index.html page. I'll use a basic one. Okay, so I'll do.
Mr. Kene, you will take a pause. We are bringing in Mr. Larry Mason, the CEO of Tech of Force Founders, to come and talk about tech talents in Africa. Just a brief presentation. So, Mr. Kene, you can take a pause. Just a brief presentation on tech founders in Africa. Tech founders in Africa, and actually how. So you can stop sharing your screen, please, Mr. Kene. So tech founders in Africa. So when it's done, you can continue with your presentation. So welcome, Mr. Larry, the CEO of Force Founders. Force Founders is actually a tech company that actually funds startups in Nigeria. They have footprints and they have coverage all over Africa. Welcome, Mr. Larry Mason.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. And I don't know, please kindly confirm if you can hear me.
I can hear you. You mind sharing your camera so that people can see you?
I'm actually in transit at the moment, and
okay.
Of course, I can share. You can see me right now.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
So
That's fine.
we are just about to take our leave and all of that.
Okay.
So, uh, so thank you very much once again for giving me the opportunity to come speak to um, our reputable cyber professionals and the world that will soon be taking over the world in their respective, regions. Once again, my name is David Larry Messon, and I'm a venture builder and an investor. And I've been following the story of Think Cyber for some time now, and I've seen the incredible work that Think Cyber has been doing in impacting the lives of people, more particularly in the area of creating jobs and empowering people with skills that will sort of transform the tech ecosystem as of today. If you notice, you will see that there is a very strong wave of digital transformation that is sweeping across the entire continent as we speak. And this wave of digital transformation is sitting on three important pillars. One is called the digital infrastructure. Two is called the digital consumption. Third is called the digital entrepreneurship. Under digital entrepreneurship, we have what we call digital talents, which simply means that for you to be able to thrive within the ecosystem that is fast growing and becoming burgeoning in the world that we are in today, you must empower yourself with at least one or two tech skills. And in empowering yourself with the tech skills, you become relevant within the the facet of different digital transformation programs that are ongoing. You could actually leverage these skills that you empower yourself with, either for entrepreneurial purpose, either for personal purpose, or for career purpose. And but what is important is that you have the deep knowledge of what is going on within the digital space. And for you to become even more economically relevant, you need to be able to see how you practically put these skills to play, you know, in the marketplace. Now, let us talk about digital talent and how it relates to what you are learning today with Think Cyber. If you look at the talent economy as of today, you will see that there is a popular word, particularly in Nigeria, which is not also only peculiar to Nigeria, it's peculiar to every other country in Africa. You see, there's a popular word that they use now that a lot of people are jackpying. 75% of the people that are jackpying away from Nigeria to outside of Nigeria are leaving because of the tech opportunities that abound in the various countries that they are going to. And this is simply because the demand for tech skills in European countries, in Canada, in US, even in Asia, is becoming more and more bigger, based following the fact that everything, digital consumption, everything that drives every economy as of today is sitting upon the ability or is sitting upon tech talent, basically. So now, but then the truth is that in Africa, I'm not saying that you cannot travel. I'm not also saying that your skill cannot bring you the opportunities that play out international. But I believe that you can sit here in Lagos, in Nigeria, and that your skill that you have will fetch you thousands and thousands of dollars, which means that it's just about you positioning. Of course, there are some of these times where these companies will invite you and say that, hey, you know what? Your talent will be needed in a very physical environment for you to be able to, bring the value that you want to bring. In trying to do that, you may have to travel. But what is important is that you are learning a skill today that is globally accepted. And that is what is most important. That your skill, the skill that you are learning today from Think Cyber, is a global skill that is relevant across borders. It is a borderless skill that you are learning, which means that your skill that you are learning today does not only make you relevant in Nigeria, but makes you relevant anywhere in the world. And as such, let us examine the opportunities that you have. Take Africa's digital economy, for example. It is proposed that the Africa's digital economy will be worth over $180 billion in 2050. Now, what are the cardinal factors that we should be looking at? We should be looking at these skills, expanding tech ecosystem. We should be looking at digital consumption growth fueled by fast-growing urban and mobile population. We should be looking at e-commerce and fintech in terms of the relevance of this skill and how it plays out in the digital economy that is fast taking over Africa, for example. Let us look at internet infrastructure investments, which are further boosting connectivity. Let's look at pro-innovator regulations that can benefit the African internet economy. Now, the truth is that you will see that there are a myriad of different areas where your skill can play out. But you need to be able to understand and know that the opportunity for Africa has come. Africa has emerged. You have to now take your skill from where you are and see, ambition that skill. I always tell people that if you learn a skill, it's not left for you to apply what I call the 3D principle to that skill that you have learned. Number one is that discover yourself. What is the discovery model you will put in place to be able to play out? And what are the fundamental elements for you to be able to discover yourself? Look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Look at what you have internally that you can marry this skill with. When you have been able to do that, you move on to developing yourself, which is the second D. You develop that skill, and you have to understand that when you learn skills, you have to continue to sharpen that skill. You have to continue to build upon that skill so as to become an expert. And if you see, that is why we have the word basic, intermediate, and expertise, ability on the skill. So let us say you have learned the skill at a very basic level as of today in the area of development. You have to be able to now begin to think, how can I move from basic to intermediate? And how can I move from intermediate to, being an expert? And then you now be able to now take that to the next D, which is called deploy. You now deploy that skill to maybe...
Hello? Hello, Mr. Larry, did we lose you? Hello? I guess it's having some internet connectivity issue. Okay, let's just quickly take a break. If it's not back, we will actually move to the next thing because it's on transit. Okay, we are moving on, and you're welcome back. Mr. Ikene, you round up the demonstration of the browser framework project right now. Then we'll move on to SQL injection, showing how SQL injection are actually used to actually breach and actually hack into networks. Ikene, you have the floor. I want to use this opportunity to recognize the presence of Mr. Yaniv Ovitz. You are welcome to this job fair presentation. Ikene, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, please share.
Please let me know if you can see my screen.
It's coming up here. I can see it now.
All right. So I previously had some extra configurations done in the YAML file, so I had to remove it and restore the backup I took. before that. So I've started my beef now, and if you can see that public address is no more there. That was the conflict earlier. So I would go back to my UI here, refresh it, and I'm waiting for a connection. I'll go back to my local Windows and copy. Let me copy that bit.ly link. This one. So I've accessed my web server running on my Kali Linux. So I'll go back to my Kali Linux, and I should get a hook anytime from now. Yeah, so you can see here under online browsers, I have a hook. You would see the name of the browser, the OS, and the hardware. It's not able to identify that. So now that I've gotten a hook on that browser, I can go to here. If you look closely, you would see a tab called commands. From here, I can exploit the victim's browser. I'll choose this exploit, this module, redirect browser frame. If you look to the right here, I have the option to redirect the browser to anywhere I want. I could take the person to, let's say, gmail.com, and execute. I would go back to my Windows, and I'm already on Gmail. So I was on a previous Gmail account there, but it takes me to another Gmail webpage.
Can you move it to casino.com or something?
Let me use like a gambling site, casino.com. Casino, yeah. I'll execute. You can see here that I've executed the second command. I'll go back to my Windows, and in a minute it should redirect the person to casino.com. So it's still loading. You would see here that the URL doesn't change. It's still showing my web server's URL. This means that I still have the hook on the person's browser. I still retain the hook. So there are various other modules. I'll show one more to harvest the person's credential. Let me just show. There's one called petty theft. So I'll search for that module here. Petty theft. And execute. I would go back here. It should redirect the person now. You look here, it's rolling. So it gives me this. Say the person was on Facebook before, and I use this module. It will just tell the person your session has timed out, kindly log in. And if the person types in his credentials at ymail.com and password, just use pass123, and clicks on login, I'm able to harvest that credential by going to this, access the command. If you look closely here, you can see what the person entered. This is the email, this is what I entered, and this is the password. So I've been able to harvest the person's credential using this petty theft. Okay. So there are various other modules there. But
okay, all right, that's fine. Here. We're actually running out of time. Yeah. Now, on behalf of Group One, can you summarize what you've just done and give an advisory on how companies can actually avoid mitigate that particular cyber risk?
Okay, so far we've been able to showcase 4 different attack vectors. One is trying to access a Windows machine using either a social engineering technique or using a payload or a malware. 2 is to be able to access a Linux machine via open ports or vulnerable ports. Open ports that are running vulnerable services. The third one is showcasing a social engineering technique of BEEF, the browser exploitation framework. And the fourth one was when I did the remote exploits using a phishing email. So in summary, all of these can be prevented by one, sensitizing your co-workers, employees about phishing emails, and reminding them that you don't have to always access emails that you're not sure of the sender. If the sender is not verified, you're not supposed to click on links within it if you're not expecting an email from that person. 2 is to use stronger passwords for, like when my colleague demonstrated Linux, use stronger passwords of strings of between 8 to 15 characters. You can also, to prevent brute forcing also, You can also use SSH keys for logging in rather than using username and passwords. That prevents the SSH part. Then for the Windows, always make sure that, in general, always make sure that your softwares that you're running are up to date and your OS is patched at all time. That would prevent such vulnerabilities. Also, such attacks. Also, make sure you have a very good antivirus that would always detect these malware and payloads. Make sure your antiviruses are up to date, and always make sure you're staying updated. Be
Okay.
it your phone, your PC.
Okay,
and
thank
all
you,
that.
thank you, Mr. Kinney. We're actually having time crunch. Mr. Larry Mason, we welcome you back to the stage. You can stop sharing your screen.
Yes.
We welcome you back to the stage so that you can conclude your presentation. Are you there, Mr. Larry?
Yes, I can hear you live and direct, Mr. Mike.
Okay, all right. Sorry, just 1 minute. Let me bring back your presentation. Okay, it's on the screen. So I think we're here. We're here. Okay. Mr. Larry. I think we lost him. Okay, 1 minute. Sorry, why is coming on? Okay, you can start now.
Hello, Mr. Mike.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I will just pick up from where I stopped basically, and I'm just going to spend another 5 minutes just to take things forward.
Okay.
So I mean, following the presentation here. Sorry that my network got bad in between, really. So my point is just to be able to summarize very quickly is that as a learner of skills, you have to be able to set a goal on what you want to do with that skill. And there are different routes in which you can translate your skill into an economic function. One of which is either through entrepreneurship, second is through employment. What is important is that whether you go through the route of employment or entrepreneurship, you have to understand that you hold an economic ace to helping to improve the economy of the continent, the economy of the country that you find yourself. Not just that, you are able to make global impact. And in trying to make that global impact, you have to be able to ensure that you ride on the grounds of a very strong vision, on the grounds of clarity, and on the grounds of consistency. The fact that you have learned the skill now, you have to, doesn't mean that you are just going to be right on top of that skill, but continuous honing of that skill and continuously translating that skill into value for people to create an economic impact, not just for only the society that you operate in, but also for yourself, will help you to continue to grow at that level. You must also set pragmatic objectives around how you intend to grow your skills and how you intend to make that skill count for yourself and for whoever you want to look at. Now, another thing I always tell people, despite the fact that the economy is a burgeoning economy, full of opportunities and resources, you must not put money as a primary function of why you are learning this. While it will be beneficial to you, let it be a byproduct of your commitment towards building that skill. Because if you think about the money, you will continue to think that all you just have to do is to know a few things that will help you to earn that money. But at the end of the day, you have to note that there are appraisals that will take. People are watching you, things are happening, and you have to be able to think of how can you make this work. Yeah, the statistics speak for itself about the power of learning a digital skills and how that digital skill can make you become a global force. But the truth is this, without understanding that you need to have an objective, set a pragmatic goals of how you will make that skill count for yourself in terms of the improvement and also for the society in terms of contributing to the GDP and the economic growth of any continent you find yourself, It's something that you have to put as a priority. Now, another thing is this: we are all learning this skill because at the end of the day, you want to sit back and ask yourself, what value have I added to myself? And how have I been able to take on this value to help other people learn and grow as well? So you will see the different change of the skill that you are learning today, what it can give birth to. It's going to give birth to personal growth, give birth to economic growth, but most importantly, it's also going to foster what we call community growth. So what will you do as a person is what you now have to ask yourself. Am I just doing this for personal growth or for economic growth and for also community growth and all of that? And that is where I will make my submission and say that you have done well by starting this, but what is important is that you must learn to scale this. And in scaling it, begin to seek for opportunities, begin to seek for growth for yourself, seek for development, continuous honing of that skill, seek for where how you intend to translate that skill, either through entrepreneurship or through employment. And if you are able to set those goals, the sky will be the limit for you in achieving the best of the goals that you can achieve. I am saying this not because I just want to come talk to you. I want to tell you, I grew up from being a local boy to becoming a global leader today, traveling all over the world and making impact. The concept is not because I'm traveling, but the concept is in the fact that I'm making pragmatic impact. And that's because I was very clear about what I want to do with the skills that I have as of today. And you have to also learn that if you limit your thinking, you will limit your chances. And those are things that you need to put into perspective. So begin to broaden the horizon of your thinking as with what you have today and how that thinking and broadening of that horizon of what you are thinking can help you reach the greatest of heights. That being said, I want to congratulate all of you for participating in this training. One thing I will leave you with: don't think about it for yourself, think about it for other people, and refer people to continue to participate in trainings like this. As it is helping you, it's going to help them. And I want to say thank you very much for giving me this few minutes to come share a little bit of my thoughts, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Larry.
Thank you.
We just finished hearing from the CEO of First Funders, a tech startup, a firm that funds tech startup across Africa. Thank you once more. Now we'll be moving over straight without wasting time to group two. Group two, what they'll be doing simply is showing us SQL injection. How you use SQL injection to infect system, everything about SQL injection. Mr. Bolan, I'm sure you are ready for us. I'm sure you are ready for us. I'm bringing you back to the stage so that you can actually do justice to SQL injection. What is SQL injection? Practical demonstration on how SQL injection can be used to actually infect system, and bringing them back on. Say thank you once more, Mr. Larry Messon. We'll take a little break, and before we come back, Bolan should be ready.
The world is looking for experts in cybersecurity, and Nigeria can meet this demand. Cybersecurity and data encryption are currently amongst the most in-demand skills in the world of tech. There are about 4 million job opportunities in the field of cybersecurity and data encryption. Nigerian tech company Think Cyber Nigeria Limited, an operating arm of the Israeli-based world-class cyber powerhouse Think Cyber Tel Aviv, is introducing a first-of-its-kind cyber simulator training program in Lagos, Nigeria, beginning in January 2022, giving 300 young graduates the opportunity to upskill or transition and begin their career as world-class cybersecurity experts. Take advantage of our flexible payment plan to make a leap in your career and sign up today. For further inquiries, call 0909 3771 515.
Okay, Mr. Bolan, you have the floor. Can you share your screen, introduce yourself, and start demonstrating how you can use SQL injection to actually infect systems and penetrate? Tell us how you build SQL injection as an attack vector. Thank you very much. Okay, you have the floor. Can you share your camera now? We're not hearing you. Can you increase your volume?
Yes, I don't know why the camera is not coming on. I've tried the other system, it just grayed out. Camera just
Can
grayed
you
out.
increase your volume a bit one more time? Increase your volume.
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yes, I said I don't know why the camera is not coming on. I tried
Okay,
to
share your
explore.
screen and start the presentation on SQL injection as an attack vector.
Okay,
You have 10
so
minutes to do that.
good
Thank you.
afternoon, everyone. My name is Arbola. I'm the team lead for the team. I'll be presenting SQL injection. Before I move straight to demonstration, I want to invite Mr. Olayemi Officer for a brief intro before I move straight to the demonstration per se. So, sir, can you help me to invite Mr. Officer Olayemi for the
Who
intro?
is doing the presentation? Is it you or him?
He's going to do intro. Okay, he's going to help us with intro before I do the presentation, the demonstration per se.
All right, good afternoon. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I think we only have a few minutes. I'll be very fast about this.
But you're not sharing your screen. Can you share your, who is sharing their screen?
Okay, I'm sharing right away. All right, thank you, Mr. Bolan. For our team, we intend to actually have this presentation in about 2 to 3 phases. The first phase is supposed to actually have a background into cybersecurity because we consider the kind of audience that we have.
The world is looking for experts in
And then,
cybersecurity.
can you hear me, please?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, and then we'll move straight to the practical demonstration, and then we now
I
come
think
back.
can you skip the theoretical aspect, move straight to the practical demonstration? We don't have a lot of time.
Okay, that's what I was telling Mr. Gbola. So Mr. Gbola will take us on the practical aspect. They will now review again to look at the solutions. Maybe I will take that.
Okay, all right. What were you supposed to do?
I was supposed to take a background introduction into what the needs are, right? And then we'll take the practical demonstration by some other team members. Then we'll come back to look at the solutions. That's what I'm supposed to take.
Okay, can you summarize what you're saying in the next 3 minutes? What you want to do in the next 3 minutes?
Okay. Clearly, this is actually the cybersecurity framework, essentially for a SOC environment. And so essentially, we're looking at our own demonstration as an attacker. These are 5 units that makes up the SOC of a cybersecurity system, the framework. And also these ingredients are also what an attacker actually leverages on whenever he actually sees a vulnerability. The next slide just basically talks about what an attacker is actually up to in any organization that is actually vulnerable or does not considered the cybersecurity framework as something that should be adapted into their system. Essentially, he has motives, he has organizational targets, and a lot of impact. Generally speaking, the impact is actually supposed to be grievous, and so actually be an impact financially on the organization as well is something that an upcoming organization might not be able to actually recover from in a short while. So what are his targets? 4 things basically: threats, assets, vulnerabilities, and then risk event. For us, threats, assets, vulnerability, and risk event are what the attacker actually looks at. And for us in this demonstration, we're going to be going to strictly now. We're going to be looking at assets. Basically, our asset in this case now is an SQL server. We're looking at the injection and the detection process. Our threat method is actually to inject flaws in the application running on the database by sending untrusted data to an interpreter. The impact, of course, is actually to sniff out valuable information. It could be access, it could be the username, it could be the password from the organization. And we're looking at the types of SQL injections that we have: inbound, outbound, and blind SQL injection. For the tool we're using for the detection is an SQL map. And of course, this actually just summarizes what we're going to get eventually. By the time we have done this SQL map, we'll actually have the hashes, and we're able to that to know what the passwords are. So we'll be reviewing different payloads of the SQL injection in the course of this presentation, and that is what Mr. Bola, a member of my team, and Yusuf will be taking us through in a short while, and then we'll come back to now reviewing what are the solutions and the prevention methods going forward. So, Mr. Bola, please, you have the floor for the SQL injection and detection demo, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Olayemi Awofisoye. That was that was very insightful. Mr. Bola, can we get straight
Yes,
to
so
what
good
we
afternoon,
do
everyone. Let me just share my screen.
and what we know how to do very well?
I'll go straight to the business. So in this demo, we'll be using uh, different SQL injection payloads to be able to navigate our way into the machine, into the database, to be able to retrieve username and password from the database. So we'll be using a vulnerable, damn vulnerable web app interface to be able to demonstrate what how we are going to carry out this attack. So this particular interface let us know that we need to interfere with this particular system by typing a user ID, because the background the code is only for me to be able to get use first name and last name from the input of the user ID. So let me just, if I type one into this and I click submit, okay. Let me just, because I'm going to use box root in the later part, let me just try to stop intersection in box root, and then stop so I have a very easy interaction with the interface. So from here you can see inputting one ID, we get the first name and the surname of a particular user. So we are going to use this particular get request. And what I mean get request, the get request or a get parameter is what is being used by a client, in this case a browser, to be able to interact with a web server in order to get a valuable information from the server using a HTTP protocol. So this is one of the ways that which we are going to interact with the SQL server. So for me, I have a couple of payloads which are going to be using to interact with the user with the database. I so I just need to input percent. Percent means anything that is probably not available or not true, and we use our or statement with anything that is
Sorry, Mr. Bola, is it possible for you to increase? Hello, Mr. Bola, can you hear me?
to increase the interface.
Yes, please. If I'm going to increase it, yeah, okay, it's okay now.
So so we input something that is always false with an or statement with anything that is always true to get the number of to get everything inside the database. So we can see that with this particular few lines of query, we'll be able to retrieve every information in the database. You can see we have all the other comments, users in the database. So this one is going to be our building block to be able to do our exploitation. So from here we are going to add another statement to it to help us to get other information from the database. So I will select new yes. So this one will combine with a union. Going to combine with a union select name. So because what from our first interaction with database, we realized that this particular output has two columns, the first name and the surname. So for us to
Sorry,
be able to
sorry, Mr. Balao. How do you first investigate the amount of columns the database has? Because that will actually determine what kind of attack and where the credentials you want to extract is. How do you do that? Can you?
yes, for to be able to get the number of columns that the database consists, we're going to use the select uh, name multiple times. So at a particular point when this particular query gives an error, that is when we know the actual number of columns that this particular database consists. So
Can,
we keep
is
increasing
it
the number
possible
of
to demonstrate? Can you demonstrate that? Okay, because we don't have time. Can you use a one-time password to extract all the database in this one-time injection? Extract all the database in this particular vulnerable machine. We don't have time. We are running. We are running. This one to extract
all the database.
yes.
Okay, so we are going to explore extract all the database and do the select. Um, So with this one, we have all the all the information about the tables that is inside the information schema. So we have so many tables which we really need to interact with. So from here we can be able to build our um, our query so that we're able to get other information concerning the database. So with this, we have so many information here. So to be able to break it down to where we are going, we actually going to take this information, this payload so this payload simply says to concatenate user that is inside the database that will be found from this particular query.
Sorry,
Uh,
Mr. Brown. Sorry, Mr. Brown. Is it possible for you to increase the volume of your set a bit so that your voice can become audible?
what about now, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, so with this, we are going to be interacting with the database, and we are going to using the concatenation to with the column with the database and the column, so that we're able to streamline our query from the table, the user table. So with this now, we are this particular query give us every table in the database that has users. So every table in the database that has users, we will retrieve. But what we are really interested in is this particular user, this particular table called users, because this particular database is like when we have an Excel sheet, and inside the Excel sheet we have so many sheets which has different information. We have sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. So sheet 1 is user privilege, sheet 2 is user. Inside sheet 2, which is user, it contains the username and password and other information about the user. So that's why we are really not interested in this particular table called users. So from there we just move on to the next query, which is going to help us to get.
Have you extracted the?
No, I've not extracted the cache.
Okay.
Only trying to streamline my attack to this. You can see we have we are calculating the table with the column name, and we are only concerned about the information in the column where the table name equals user. So
okay, all right, that's fine.
So from here now we realize that we have different what do you call it, columns. We have column first name, column user ID, column first name, column last name, column user password, which is the password. And so from here we now streamline further to be able to produce our concatenation to, in this case, we'll be talking about the table, the column, username, and the password. So this one will help us to fetch out both the username and password that inside that particular table, since we are interacting with the user, the table name users. So that would be our next step of attack. So in this is actually done manually, and there is also a way by which we can even do this in an automation way. That's why we are going to be using SQL now. So you can see after we build our query one after the other, and we are able to get an calculation in which we have the first name, the last name, the user, and the password from our table called users. Then we have what is called the username, the surname, the admin, which is the username, the first name, username, surname, and the password. So from here we just need to copy each and one of these particular hashes against the username and go to John to how do I put it? To be forced, yes, able to force the password so that we're able to get access to
Okay. So that we actually understand clearly. This is actually a vulnerable machine. In real life scenario, can you actually just give a summary on how this attacks is? Using this your table, because you've never what your main aim of target is to get what assets or what credentials. According to Mr. Olayemi Awofisoye said there are always some intent of the attacker. What does he want to get? This one want to harvest credentials, right?
Yes, this is the aim of this particular attack to be able to harvest data, which is username and password of each of the users on this platform.
Okay, all right, that's fine. You want to show us something with SQL map?
Yes, so for SQL map, I'm going to use this particular payload. So this particular payload will be my. So let me just click on my
The box suit.
box suit and the proxy. So here I'm going to intercept the query coming from this SQL map. Sorry, from this particular vulnerable machine to be intercepted by the box suit. So, Okay, so because, so I'm going to so easy. So the boxes are being able to intercept this particular request so that we can able to do other
Mr.
activities. So
Balawan,
what we
Mr.
have
Balawan, can you zoom on this thing a little bit small? We're not seeing the content of what you intercepted using Bob suit.
yes, the let me just try
Okay, if you cannot, okay, is it possible to zoom?
we really have this option whereby you can be able
Okay,
to
okay, all right. You can continue.
so I think it's a little bit bigger now. We can just try more and increase further. The content is not
Proxy.
it's manageable. So
Okay,
what I need to do is just to be able to save this particular intercept, this request into a file, and let me call it SQL request. So I will now put on my SQL map.
can you zoom in on this your Kali lineups now? Just actually hold on where you are, so that our audience can understand what you're trying to do. Now you're using SQL injection to actually um, get um, raw codes first to actually get credentials out. That you've demonstrated by showing the hash. Now you're still demonstrating again how you can intercept a particular um,
Payload.
payload and actually use SQL map to actually get
Get
credentials.
the
Yeah,
Yes.
is that's what you're trying to show us,
yeah.
right?
That's all we're trying to do.
Okay,
Yes,
all
so
right,
that's
thank you.
exactly what I'm trying to do. So I intercepted the payload, which is the request from the get request so that I'm able to input it into SQL for further exploitation. So from here, I have my SQL request, which is what I intercepted. So I will now launch my SQL map, SQL map, and SQL request. So I will now combine it with the IP address of
Of
Hello,
the
sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. Please, can you just zoom in one more time? Zoom in one more time.
is it okay now?
Yeah, it's okay now. It's more legible.
so that's the IP address of the vulnerable machine.
So that's the IP address of the vulnerable machine. We now use some of the switches, which is IP
Hyphen D.
So this one will
Okay, Mr. Bola, do you want to take it from the column to the table to the and then to the password, or you just want to have it to the full stretch of the command so that I can tell you here?
uh,
We should take it step by step, right?
see I'm having error on it.
No, you wrote is equal to R hyphen R.
Oh, sorry. So this particular one will help us to prepare. So we just say this, and so it will go into the database to help us to fetch every vulnerability that we can be able to use to
Sorry,
exploit.
sorry, Mr. Bola, more like you're talking to yourself. can you speak to the microphone, or is it your system? Mr. Layemi, can you help explain what is going on currently using that SQL map?
Okay, so basically on the SQL, we actually have different columns, like it has been rightly said earlier on. So now we're trying to use the SQL map to actually be able to analyze the intercepted file. When we actually did the data, what's it called? When we did the user input manipulations that we actually had on those scripts. So now, for this now, we're going to be taking it step by step. What we're doing currently now is actually to run the command using the SQL map -r on the file name. The file name is SQL request, and then on the vulnerable IP, on the IP address of the vulnerable machine, which is 192. That IP address. Yeah, exactly. And so if you want to now know all the tables, I mean the information on the tables that we have for that particular SQL, we're going to use -d dvwa double hyphen tables. So that will give us information about information on the tables. And if you want to take it further again, I want to know that information apart from the tables, maybe to the next, which is the columns. We can do d dvwa -t.
Okay, can you display that, Mr. Bola? All these things, Mr. Layemi, can you display that?
So yes, so that's what I'm
yeah, you are far away from your mic.
Okay, sorry about that.
You are far away from your mic, please.
I think I'm closer now.
It's better now, yes.
So,
that's fine.
Okay, so we are taking it step by step, as Mr. Layemi has said. So we are, as it is now, we'll be able to get some vulnerabilities. You can see get parameter ID, which might be detectable. These are one of the vulnerabilities that.
Okay, show us the tables, show us the tables, the amount, show us tables and all those stuff.
So the SQL map is doing a lot of query using different information and applying the error base in order to be able to assess the database and being able to know the best query to apply from the vulnerability point of view to assess the database. So we have seen a lot of information like the get parameter appear to be MySQL, giving us information about the MySQL server. So we just go on with it.
So this is actually, you've shown the practical injection of codes, then you're actually showing automation, using automation tools. Is that what you are showing us?
This is the automation tool using the SQL map. So
you are still far from your microphone. Can you come close to your microphone?
It's doing it, this is an automation way to go about the manual way that I've done earlier. The input interface. So SQL map is an automation way to get all the vulnerabilities.
Okay, we'll take a little break for you to conclude this particular session. I think Group 3 should be getting ready, Mr. Olalekun Ilori and his team. Mr. Olalekun Ilori will be presenting to us how they actually write code to automate this particular stuff from the scratch. How you write codes to automate this stuff from the scratch, and actually you show us the code, writing a code to actually directly attack a system, and actually how to run the code. All we've been seeing is manual, so you show us automation, Mr. Ilori. So Mr. Agbola and the team, you want to give us a summary?
So we'll be able to get all the databases from the MySQL, from the server, and you can see we have information about the web server operating system. We have the web application technology that's running on the operating system,
Why are you able to get any credentials?
So, to be able to get credentials, we need to run another query so that we can just get credentials right away. So we use -D to, then we are going to interacting with the DBWA, which is the
Okay.
database and interact with the tables. So we do
-C. -C.
I think capital T.
You know, equal to, there's equal to, good.
Exactly. And then,
Users.
So we have users. So we have users,
-C. Password.
the users inside the database.
-C password.
So we have -C, the capital C password. So we quickly run this particular. So those
double column dump. Double hyphen dump.
So this one we have to fetch. So from here we can see that SQL SQL map are able to help us to fetch out
the hashes.
dump. So we have the hashes for the user, for all the usernames. So from here we can even take it for that to help us to do.
For practice, and we've done that. We've done that over and over again. We don't have that time now. Mr. Bolao and the team, and Mr. Laimi, you want to give a summary? You want Mr. Laimi to give a summary and a review?
Okay, so basically, from what we have done, the whole idea or the intent of the attacker is to be able to get that he can actually crack, be able to check out password, and then you can see whatever damage will be, whatever extent you want to damage on the vulnerable machine. Now we have positioned ourselves as the attacker in this case, so that we can be able to be in an advisory role and to give to any client some of the vulnerabilities that we have detected from this test that we have carried out, essentially. And so our suggestion will be to our clients, whom in this case the attacker has as is a victim now, is to implore some of these suggestions, especially as it requires as it relates to SQL injection prevention methods. We have about 7 that we have actually highlighted by the team. I don't know, should I go ahead or you invite other members of the team so that they can also talk? We have some. One of them actually is it is the expedient that we actually adopt allow list input validation method. This method of SQL prevention checks for input data set conformity with acceptable data syntax, semantics, type, length, and format. Whatever is being done at the client side is also expected to also be done at the server side in terms of validation.
Sorry,
input.
Mr. Laimi, hold on, please. Do you have a presentation for this?
Yes, we do. We do.
Can you actually, Mr. Bolano, stop sharing your screen? Can we see this presentation so that you can give the advice properly?
All right. Okay, can you see my screen, sirs?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Just go straight to this part. You are actually
okay.
This last part you are rounding up.
Okay, so this last part is just what my other colleague just ended now, the demo, and you can see the hashes here. So from here, we can crack and also get the password, like I said. So these are our recommendation to prevent further injections. One of them is actually to allow list input validation method, and this, of course, is to always ensure that there's validation of input data conformity with acceptable data syntax, semantics, the length, and then the format. This is actually required for any data workflow input and should be done early at any stage of any deployment of any servers or any network assets on the particular client's infrastructure. So we're looking at the client side, we're looking at the server side. Also, there needs to be a validation of whatever is being done at the client side, also done at the server side. Also, it's required also that there's validation of the kind of file that can be uploaded, the data size, the kind of images, all of this. Also, as respect to email address validation, also the length of characters, the type of character sets, that is also, all of this validation needs to be put in place to ensure that any attacker or any intruder doesn't have any means of vulnerability into the database of a client. Number two, we're looking at parameter query methods. There are two types that we actually look at here. Ordinarily, when you are querying a database set, by the time you have requested for a customized table, you get the name, the table, and whatever information from the table. You retrieve the information from the table at the end of the query. But however, we're advising that you have a parameter that is standardized, in the sense that you have actually defined some placeholders.
So you mean sanitizing the database?
That's the first one that I talked about, sanitizing the database. And this one is about you have to actually have a customized input that must be strictly adhered to from the information set that you actually put into the database. If it does not conform to that, it will not accept it. That's what this is actually talking about. It's also similar to having a stored procedure method. The only difference with this is that the SQL query is actually stored in the database, and this is actually queried automatically by the application on the database. And then, of course, we have to have a web application firewall. This is very critical. No matter how much whatever we have put in place in terms of data sets manipulation and ensuring that these data sets actually are conforming to the right sets in terms of semantics and syntax, there's also need to also introduce some level of firewall application within the network infrastructure, more importantly before the destination server, so that whatever is coming in and out of the server is actually protected, and then nobody can actually intrude into the server and actually have to cut away with other vital information from the of who the client and the end user is actually. Other information are here, but for time we will not be able to talk more about that. But these are the things that we're proposing to the customer or the client, that for you to actually have a protected information on your database, there are certain things that needed to be done. Especially, you need to check your inputs. It has to be standardized. You have to do sanitization, like you said, on the character sets, on the semantics, and also you have to introduce a firewall to ensure that whatever type of manipulation that is being done, even to query out or fish out information from the database, it doesn't actually hamper on the end user. Thank you.
Okay, all right, that's wonderful. Group 2. Mr. Ilori, are you ready for us? Thanks, Mr. Olayemi Awofisoye, and thanks, Mr. Gbola Awe, for that presentation. Mr. Ilori, are you ready for us? Olalekan Ilori, are you ready for us?
Yes, we are ready.
Okay, you and your team, you are ready. So they will actually be coding attack vectors from the scratch. It's not going to be a long time. They're going to use it to attack a system, and you can see that's what we do here. Now we move from conceptualization, procedures, framework, processes. Then what is the process? We automate it so that this everyday work activity can actually run smoothly. So we'll take a little break, then we'll come back. By then, Mr. Ilori, you should be setting up.
Okay.
Yes, we are back and kicking. So it's been interesting so far. We still appreciate the presence of Landmark University. We appreciate the presence of Professor Idowu. We appreciate the presence of Cyber Dome. They've been here all through. We appreciate the presence of Yaniv Ovitz. So we appreciate the presence of Mr. I'm sorry, I saw him just now. From Polaris Bank, Mr. Odunride from Polaris Bank. We appreciate your presence. So, Mr. Ilori, you have the floor now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I was going to share my screen to take the introduction. So good afternoon, everyone. So this is group 3. We've had a stretch of a day, and I just permit me to stand on all the earlier protocols that have been set in place and go straight into what we have to do for the day. So this is group 3, and we are presenting. Basically, we are going through what it takes to help a pen tester. So you see my screen talking about what pen testers do. Basically, we are finding the evils before the devil unleashes them. And in order to be able to do this efficiently, we need to make use of tools. And in pen testing, and so far we've been learning a lot from Think Cyber, and we've been equipped efficiently to perform these operations. And one of the efficiencies that was done or was given to us, or the enablement that was given to us, teaching us, helping us to be able to create tools by ourselves, using, automating what we do. And the essence of automation is speed to get accuracy and business integrity. We all know that computers are a bit more reliable because you tell them exactly what to do, and they do. And so it is with script. And we are going to be making use of bash scripting. And with bash scripting, we can do network scanning, we can scan for vulnerability, we can achieve system administration, we can crush and manipulate data, we can launch cloud and web applications, deploying it automatically, automating backup, and creating several scripts for whatever we need to do. So I'll be going straight to what we have to do for today. So what we have done is to create a tool that will automate what group 1 and group 2 has been saying. For sake of time, we are just going to be able to do basically what I will call a proof of concept. So we are going to be proving that we can automate these attack vectors. So what we are doing now, we are going to be attacking a Linux system with the tool we create. I will first of all demonstrate the tool and then take us to the back end to see what's actually happening behind the tool. So we have a tool we create. The name of the tool is, I believe you can see my screen.
Can you zoom in? Is that okay. A Linux terminal?
Yes. Okay, let me zoom in.
Zoom in, please. It's too small. We can't see your screen.
How is it now?
Yeah, it's okay now. It's better now. It's better.
Okay, cool. So this is my screen. I'm going to be launching the tool now. The tool that was created. So like I said, I'll be demonstrating the tool. Then after demonstrating what the tool does, I will now go to the back end to see how we use bash scripts to achieve what we have done. So it's an attacking tool, and we're going to be attacking another Linux machine that I already set up on my system. If you can see my screen, you can see I have a Linux machine here. It's a vulnerable Linux machine. I have some ports already opened on it so that it can be easy to demonstrate what we have to do. So I'm launching my script now. If you can see this, if I can see my screen, so this is Hacked 2 by TCN Group 3. And this tool is a bundle of 4 tools in one. So we have a port scanner, we have a vulnerability scanner, a payload generator, and a listener. So the port scanner, when you want to attack any target, the first thing you want to do is to know what is exploitable, or what are the vulnerabilities that exist on your target. And by doing that, you need a scanner that will scan the system and scan the target host for ports and the services that are on it. Then the second tool here is the vulnerability, which checks for the vulnerability of the services that are running on those ports. So after scanning, you check for the vulnerability. and then we have a payload. So based on the vulnerability that you can find, you can create a payload that will exploit such vulnerability. And then the last tool there is the listener, which does helps you to act, which creates a stage for you to carry out your operations once you gain access, after gaining access to the system. So like I said earlier, it's a proof of concept, and I'm going to be demonstrating it on this system. So if you can see my screen, let me move this way. Okay, so it's asking us, the tool says enter a number to choose from which of the operations. We're going to be running through all the 4 operations anyway. So the first operation is the port scanner. So when we have operation 1, we select 1. So if you click enter, so it's going to, this is task 1. Sorry, I pressed it twice. I have to run it again. So operation 1, enter a number to choose. So it's 01. So 01 is so this is asking us for the host. The R host is simply the remote host that we're targeting. So the remote host I'm targeting is 192.168.198.137. So basically, like as a vulnerability, as a scanner scanning for open ports, this tool is scanning for only the first 100 ports, the top 100 ports. So this is version 1 of the tool. Other versions can do better, can open up more ports. We can increase the number of ports that we scan. We can also vary it. So we all know that a tool or applications are continuously developing. So this is version 1, like we called it. So these are the ports that are open on the target. You can see we have port 22, 23, 25. Out of all the 100 ports scanned, this is what we have. So from this, for this first part of the tool, basically what it's just doing is enumerating the port and telling us the ports that are open. So for us to go to a higher, carry out something more, we go to the next tool, which is the vulnerability scanner. So from here, it says press 1 to return or menu to exit. So we are returning to menu. Press 1. So on the menu, we are going back. So we now have now we have ports open. We have confirmed that there are ports open. So we have to use the second tool, which is to scan for vulnerabilities, which is O2. So it's asking us what's the remote host IP 192.168.198.137. So what kind of platform is it? It's a Linux machine. From the earlier scan, we'll have checked to know the kind of OS that is running. So it's a Linux machine. Then it's scanning for vulnerabilities now based on the ports that are discovered that are opened. So just give it a second. It's still scanning. It will give us results shortly now. So like while it's scanning, to just understand what is going on. So every port has
Sorry, Mr. Ilori, can you bring up your Wireshark? Let's see what is going on behind. Is it possible for you to add Wireshark to the presentation?
Okay. Wireshark. So okay, the Wireshark will soon load.
Okay, go back to the other page.
So. If you can see my screen now. So it has finished scanning the vulnerability and has listed all the vulnerabilities that are available or that I can find. So here we can see common vulnerabilities found. So we have VSFTPD vulnerability, which has to do with FTP. We have a OpenSSH. So there is a list. So the tool behind this is a search plot, which you will still see in the where we are going through the code eventually. So this is a list of the vulnerabilities found. Then, so we have checked for the open ports, we have checked for vulnerabilities. Now we have seen the vulnerabilities. So let's go further, a bit further. So we're going back to the menu. So now we have known the ports are open. We've checked the vulnerabilities and we see the vulnerabilities that are available. Now it's for us to exploit the system based on the vulnerability we have found. So one of the things that we need to know, like group 1 and 2 have been talking about, is a payload. So a payload is actually the piece of code that we inject into the into the victim or the target, when it gets activated, it gives us a backdoor or an access into that system. So this payload is what will connect us back. There are different kind of payloads. Here, as we'll see, we have a list of payloads. There are different payloads depending on the kind of operation we want to carry out. So let's select O3. Yeah, generating a payload. So the L-host now is the terminal, which is where I'm working, where I'm launching the attack from, where we are going to be receiving a feedback from the victim that we are attacking. So it's 192.168.198.133. So it's asking for a port, the port that we're going to be using to monitor what is going on. So I'm going to just pick a random port, 888. Then the payload, because we need to determine the kind of payload we want to use. We are attacking a Linux system, and the kind of payload that will run on a Linux system is ELF format. That's the file system that we will run. So we are going to use ELF as the file format. Then the design name, this is just a random name, any name. So let me just give it a hack group 3. Okay, so now it's asking us what kind of payload do we want to use. So for the sake of proof of this concept, we just limited it to a number of payloads. We can also automate the selection of payload, but for the sake of demonstration, we have highlighted the tool is giving us an option of payload to choose from. So we have 6 payload there. I'm going to just randomly pick payload 1. Let me see, enter a number to do payload 1. So the plan we already know is a Linux platform we are attacking. So go ahead. So it's creating a payload for attack now. So we can see, let's see what's going on with it. Oh, so this is the Wireshark, and we can see behind the scene how the system is communicating. We can see what is going on, TCP. So basically what is going on is there's a communication between the attack system and the victim they are trying to attack. So from here we can see the traffic, you can see the exchange that is going on. It has carried out the protocols that is using the the source IP address. We can always filter for different things here. We can filter for IP address, for instance, the IP address, you can, so that we can limit what's, let me see, IP address 192.168.198.183. So here I can see what is going on from here. So you can see, okay, I can see in the background that the payload I'm generating is done. So the Wireshark is a tool that we use to check our traffic. It helps us to know the communication. We can also use that one to filter the traffic and know the kind of messages or info, the protocols, the things that are going on in the background.
Okay. Let's not lose focus on this particular session. Is to actually show that you are the one, you developed this tool. Can we go to the back end? Have you finished? Do you have an attack module in this session where it's actually attack the target and create a session?
Yes. So that's the next tool. So we already created. This one's finished creating the module. I mean the payload. So we can see it, and it said it's saved here. So we can to create the session. Can go back to the menu. So the last one, which is the listener tool, is a stage. It's basically, it has 2 components inside. A stage where the victim where we create a way to communicate or inject it into the victim, and also when the victim activates the payload, we can see it here. So let's just set up the session before we go to the RC listener. Basically, my colleague will still come back and properly talk about the RC listener, but for the sake of this demonstration, let me just finish with these 2 and see how we see how it before we go back to the code. So this is setting up the attack stage. So what it's doing here, based on the payload that we created earlier, is setting up a temporary Python server here so that we can log in from the victim, so that we can, it has generated a link here, and we can copy this link and use it on the victim. So you can find a way using like what group 1 discussed or group 2. You can inject it by attacking the web, maybe uploading it to the victim site or creating a phishing page using the social engineering method to get it across to the victim. So, but for here, I'll go, because of the limitation of time, I'll go into the, let me just finish creating this session so that we'll have a session here, 192. We are listing here 168.198.133. Okay, so we are on 888. So we are working on the Linux machine. So we are using the load one. So it's setting up a listener now. So a shell will be created here where we'll be listening to, waiting for the victim to click on this link that we are going to send to him. But in this case, because of the Linux, both of them are existing. So I will log in manually into the victim and inject this payload. So if you can see, I hope my screen is still clear.
Yeah.
So this one is a bit tiny because it's the Ubuntu. I will just it's Ubuntu Linux, and I can't usually manipulate it.
Yeah. You can go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just typing in the details, 192.168. So what I'm doing is I'm connecting it back to the attacker. 1, 2, 3. So I need to put the name. Let me confirm the name of the payload that I created here. So the payload is let me check the name. So let me see. Hacks Group 3. What is the name? Okay, so we have Hack Group 3. Hack Group 3. So that's the name. Okay, so sure. Hack Group GRP3. Okay, so we have I've successfully downloaded the payload into this system. So all I need to do, I have to make it executable. All this will be done automatically in a real situation, actually. Okay, so I'm going to launch it now. Okay, so I've launched it. So I'm assuming that the victim has now clicked on it. So you can see here I already have a session.
Can you zoom in on that one? We are not seeing the session page.
Can you see it now?
Okay, now we can now see the session page.
So if I set up a list now, you can see the session. So from this session, I'm already in the victim system. So I can do, let me see.
No, they've done this over.
Okay, they've done this earlier on.
Okay, can you go to the back end and show us what is in the script? That is how you created the script. Sorry, apart from this phishing link, you do not create a script that can directly, like it has scanned and unseen maybe a vulnerability and can actually attack that vulnerability directly without sending a phishing link. Okay, you do not create that kind of script.
No, I didn't create that kind of script.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine. It's okay. So you can actually show us the backend.
Okay, so I'm opening the backend is in the I'm going to be using the Genie. So Genie Hub. Okay, so let me increase the font of the screen. Can we see, is it visible?
It's a little bit small. Okay, then scroll up.
Yeah. How is it now?
It's okay.
Okay, so this is the backend. This is what is going. What did all the automation that happen on the front end. So it's a bash script, like I said earlier, and we have to first of all initiate the bash script so that it can be an executable file, which is this tool bin bash. Call it sheep. We use the shebang, and then we initiated it. So the first thing we did was to check for permissions. If I try to run the tool without logging in as a sudo user, like he's a super user, it will actually reject it. Let me see if you see what happened here. Here, okay, if you see now, let me show you. Here, if I try to, because let me make it. Okay, so this is the same tool I just run now. Because at this stage, if I can see my screen, if I'm not logged in as a super user here, and I try to run it, you will see the error it will give me.
Okay, are you the only one in your group? Who are the other people in your group?
Okay, so we are 3 in the group. I'm going to demonstrate the tool we created. The Godwin will come up to demonstrate the manual side of what we'll have done manually.
No, we don't know we can't do them. They've done it manually before. You're supposed to just demonstrate coding.
Okay,
coding.
Godwin can come up to talk about the to run through the backend.
Okay, I think somebody should do that since you've demonstrated the backend. Then who is the third person?
Then Grace, I think she's network has been going off, and I think she's back. I think you can invite her. Grace, if she's here, please. You can invite her also to the stage.
I've invited Grace, but I'm looking for Godwin. All right.
Are they on now?
Mrs. Grace Adimefe is on. If you want her to share her screen, ask Mrs. Grace. Mrs. Grace Adimefe, are you ready for us? I'm not sure she's ready.
Yeah, because I didn't even know she's online. Our connection has been going off and on since
Mr.
morning.
Godwin Chukuma, are you ready for us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you can stop sharing your screen. Let Mr. Godwin Chukuma take it up from here.
Okay, so Mr. Godwin,
tell us about the construction of the code. What was your concept and how you came out with the job?
Okay. Coming. My system has been a bit slow, so. Okay, I've just shared my screen. Can you see it?
We're not seeing the screen.
Can you see my screen?
We can't see your screen. It's not shared.
Not showing yet.
I've shared my screen, isn't it? Let me reshare. Can you see it now?
Yeah, it's coming up.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Godwin Chukuma, and I'm one of the group, team group 3. So my colleague have extensively talked about the output of how the code will run, on how it's going to display, and it is a 3 code embedded in one. So it will do the scanning, and it will do the enumeration. That's like giving out the vulnerability, checking out, searching if for the open port. Like when you scan a port, when you scan a network or a target, so some of the open ports on the system. So we should check if there is a vulnerability on those open ports. So the first part of the tool is to do scanning. So, and then on the part of it, we we created this these two, and you can see from here, and I don't know if you can see my screen. So where we
We can
said,
see your screen. Can you zoom in, please?
okay, let me zoom in. Can you see it much? Is it much better now?
Yeah, it's better now.
All right. So on the script we talked about. So this is just the beginning of the script. So we talked about the code. So we said that read P, enter R hosts. The R host is the target we want to scan on. So when we're talking of R host, it's target we want to scan on, and then we limited the number of ports the scan is supposed to scan to 100. So where we said scanning top 100 ports, so it's only going to scan for 100 ports. So, and then in the end, in continuation of the writing of the code, we use nmap to scan the ports at the machine.
What is actually making it scan 100? Is it because you put an iPhone F, capital F?
So that's I'm trying to talk about nmap now. So the nmap.
You said scanning 100 ports. What is the code doing that? Is it the iPhone F you put,
yes,
or the SD?
We have iPhone F, which is a flag to limit the scanning on the letter for just 100 ports.
All right, that's fine.
So when we do that, then when we scan the open port, the 100 port, so it will write it to this our rhost.dtls. So like instead of scanning it, instead of scanning it and showing you the whole output, it will write it to this rhost.dtls. So, and then what we are scanning on the network, we are scanning for this open port, and we are scanning for the version of those open ports. So if it is FTP, what version of FTP is running on the and what port number is it running on? So those are the things we scan on. So this is the SV here is talking about the version of the network, a version of the version of the the version that is running on each of the services we are scanning. So then when we come back here to talk about when we use a cat, I don't want to go into all of other method of what we are writing. Here is just like, okay, the following ports are open. So it's just like, okay, telling the port, okay, look at it. We have so and so number of ports that's open. And when my other colleague was demonstrating, he showed the number of ports that was open. And those ports was written inside rhost.ldc. So we grep on the list of open ports. So we grep out the open port alone. So we use this file manipulation command, which is called grep, to grep out the open port, and then tell it that we don't want every information on that every information on the network. Give us also number column. So it's okay, just give us the column 1 and column 3. With that way we say print $1 and then $3, which is column 1 and column 3. So when you grab the open port on the scan network, which is 100 ports, when you grab it, grab only the open port and just give us the output on column 1 and column 3. So when my colleagues was he showed us those information. So I'm just trying to talk about what happened at the back end and why it was the way it was on the front end. So then that gave us that information on what we saw there. So we'll continue. This is for the scanning. So the essence of the scanning is to check out for the open ports. And when we find the open port, we check out the services that are running on all those open ports. So that's what we did. So when we find out, we just pick out the necessary thing we need: open ports and the number of column. On the number of column on the on the network we scanned. So we come down here, and this now is just like read, press, enter. So on this script, so it's designed in such a way that it can continue. It will either take you front or back. Like if you maybe after scanning the network, you can decide, okay, I've gotten what I wanted to, because I've gotten the number of ports I wanted to see. I don't want to continue again. It will tell you, okay, press 0, then you exit. But when you press 1, it will take you back to the menu. Do you want to check out the vulnerability that is running on those open ports? If you want to continue that is the next part of the script. And look at this is it now. is showing to say that echo scan for the vulnerability. So this is now we're going to scan for the vulnerability of those version of the those version that are running on each of the services of open ports that we scan using Nmap. So when we scan for the vulnerability, and remember, in the first instance, I mentioned rhost. Rhost is what is representing the target we're looking at. So, and what in the, when my other colleagues scan, what is scanned is this vulnerable Linux machine, which is metasploitable. So that we use the IP address from the machine without what we consider the R host. So and then coming back here now, we're telling you again that the R host will scan for the vulnerability because we already tested scan the port. I'm just trying to be more detailed. We already scan the network and find out the number of ports and the open ports and the services running on those open ports. So it's telling us again here, enter the R host. The R host here is still signifying for the target we're trying to scan. So enter it and then enumerate the number of vulnerabilities that are running in each of open ports. Each of the services it carries. What are the vulnerabilities that are running in them? So when you do that, and then we know that we have two versions of a platform run on when we tend to scan the network. This is that we're scanning a window network, or we are scanning a Linux network. This time around we use Linux network. So that's why we say enter the R host, the platform, which is the platform. Are you scanning the window machine or you are scanning the Linux machine? So that is just it. When we choose, remember again, you choose the target information. Then again, you are specifying which of the platform you want to scan. Are you scanning the window machine? Like when group one, when group one presented, they talk about the window machine. They enumerated the possible vulnerability and how they was able to access the window machine. So this time around, the platform we're choosing, my colleague chose to scan was Linux machine. So here that we specify, are you scanning the window machine or the Linux machine? So then when you scan it, when you have gotten those things, you come back again and make it known that you scan those, you scan the as you're using Nmap again. You understand? You scan the you're using we are scanning the Linux machines. We are scanning the Linux machine on the target of R host. You understand? So now when you're trying to do Nmap again, then you say, okay, write the information of those Nmap is scanned before into this rhost.html using this flag OS. So what you are writing here is something, when you are using this flag, you are on Nmap, you are trying to tell the Nmap, send the whatever you scan on this network, please write it to something that can scan, like that can access web browser. So that is what the flag will do. So and then we tell it, okay, if there is any error while scanning, write it to dev null. So this dev null here shows that if there's any error while scanning, write it to what I just needed you to give me is a version of the network and the port number and the number of and scan the port number based on -big F, which is just port number 100. So when we do that, we come back again and explain that, okay, search exploits by using the platform called search exploit to scan the Nmap of what we have forgotten already. Search exploit, and then when we do that, we grep out the platform. The platform we are grepping is it window, because we have already choose window here. We already choose the platform here, either Linux or window. So it's okay. Grep out the platform, which is now the Linux, and write it to another thing again, another test file again, which is rhost2.nst. So that is like, then you have been in this that was when my colleague here demonstrated, and it shows the vulnerable information that is running on the network. It demonstrated all the whole vulnerable all the possible vulnerability that is running on each of the open ports. So, and it was written into this rhost2.nst. Then we continued. This is the second version of the script. You know, I've explained the first one, which is using Nmap to demonstrate and scan the listen and tell it scan just for port number of port, which is 100. We can scan the whole port if we want, but we wanted to do something that will not be too stressful. So we did just for port 100. So we scan for only port 100 and show us the version of it, and grep out the column 1 and column 2, which is the open port, and then the version of the services that are running on each of the ports. So then we'll come back again, and then using another thing called using this script called using this search exploit to scan for the vulnerability as running in each of those open ports. And then we say, okay, we don't want to see any error that you encounter while you're scanning all of this, and please write it to greater than devno, just write it to 2 devno and make sure that we don't want to see any we're not seeing any error. Give us just the vulnerability on each of the network, and then when it showed it, that was what is shown. So the next part of the script, and then we come again and tell it, okay, and then if you want to continue, if you are ending your search,
hello, can you hold on there? Searchploit ros.xml, saving it as XML file, nmap.xml file, and it's actually grepping and actually writing into an L. Can you actually enumerate or explain that part? When you save as XML file, what does that mean?
When we save at nmap. Are you saying something, Liko?
No. Go ahead. I will say
when
you're done. Go ahead.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Good. Now, I said the arrows.xml that you're actually writing, that you wrote there. What does it do if you are saving something as XML file? What is that part? Why are you using the XML file there? Because you're actually trying to save the file. Okay, why did you use .xml there?
So when you are saving something as .xml file, you are saving it on something that you can access on internet. Some like this file now, we can say, okay, we can run it as a HTML file, as a domain. So we are saving it. We are saving anything of .xml file. You are trying to run it as maybe HTML file or a domain. Something you can put it on Firefox, and it will be able to run out the possible information.
Can I do this?
Mr. Olalekan, you want to say something?
Yeah, so we basically that place we just use an XML file because we are going to run it on Searchploit, and for us to be able to use it as a script on Searchploit, it will be in XML file. XML file is a format which copies, it has the detail, the format in which it presents it is different from just outputting as a raw text. So it is going to format it in a way that we can also use it for it is like Crunch HTML. So it can be readable as a script to use in Searchploit. That is basically why we use the
I think that explains that. Can you actually pace up? I didn't know your project was this long. We have just about 20 minutes more to end the session. So round up in the next 10 minutes so that we can use the next 10 minutes to actually take question and answer from the audience.
All right. So the last part of the script, as you can see, is a part that is trying to say, okay, enter the payload. We're trying to scan the payload. So this is the part of it. Okay, enter the L host. A normal way, like the way we are trying to do it manually. Enter the L host, then enter the L port, then choose the format because we are trying to create a payload. Choose the format. Now you have the thing that you scan the ports and found the open port and the services running in them. Then you then scan the port, the open port and the services running in them and find the vulnerability in those things. Then you want to create a payload to attack those vulnerabilities. So then we're trying to create we then decide to create a payload. And then when we are creating a payload, we said, okay, we choose L host. L host should be our own IP address or from the host, the local host where we are attacking from. Then we choose our desired airport we wanted to use and create the payload. Then we choose the format of the payload we want. Do we want it raw? Do we want to use ESC format? Do we want to use EF? And being that we're choosing Linux, we're using EF, which is the format for Linux machine. So we decided to write it on the name of the file we want. What name of the file do we want the payloads to look like? When Mr. Elori was demonstrating, he showed that he even went ahead and bring down the payload he wrote, the script generated. Then he was able to generate a section. So then, continuation of the script, we come here and then it's okay. We say, look, this one is just like, okay, select the payload you want. What type of payload do you want? On here, we listed some payload. There are some of the payload we choose here. So we decide, then you choose a payload.
It's up, scroll up, it's up.
I'm trying to. Okay, now this is the payload we choose. So we're telling it to choose the payload. So definition of payload. So we have these are the Linux payloads. We have the first one, which is S86, which is the architecture. Then Metapreter reverse payload. This is a reverse share or a reverse share payload on Linux. So all we did mostly here is Linux. So all of this is payload here we have. So it's okay. Let's choose the payload from here. This is now we have the number of the list of the payload. Okay, payload 1, payload 2, payload 3, and the number either of the payload you want, depending on the vulnerability you want to attack on the open port. You choose it. Then you enter the payload and the platform you want it to. Like as I've said, we have the platform we have on the MSF Venom. We have like MSF Venom list of the list of the platform. We have ES extension ES
Hello,
platform.
Mr. Chooks. Can you do this way?
Okay.
You're actually explaining a program. Now, the syntax echo actually displays options, right? Because I'm seeing echo payload. Now,
it's not because you are telling me to be fast, so I was trying to just hasten up and talk about the whole thing at once.
Okay,
So
how many lines do you have left? I didn't expect it to be this long. I was thinking something 10 or 20, just 10 lines of just simple lines to actually just show, but I didn't know you guys did a very comprehensive work like this.
Yeah, because we did like 3-in-1 project instead of just writing and scanning and opening port.
Okay,
so
all right,
that's
fantastic.
Scanning and
But we have limited time. Can somebody summarize?
So I'm trying to just summarize the whole thing. Like I said, you choose a payload. When you choose a payload, you like as I said, we've shown the payload we describe we on the description. So we show the payload. Then when you choose a payload here on this very place now, you said okay, read select payload from pay option. You understand? So when you do that, you come and the script will write out either of this payload. Let's look at it. That you are using the first payload, or you are using the second payload, or you are using the third payload. So once you write out the payload, it will automatically generate using this MSF console
Why did
-Q
you use
-S.
why did you use -Q and -X? Can
Okay,
Lori, you want to answer that question?
Let me pull into it. Why you use -Q and -X is -Q is to remove all the necessary noise while we are trying to start MSF console, and -S is to execute the payload. The payload we choose already to execute it. So that's what it stands for. So we don't need to start turning on MSF console again. So we just as we're running the script, you have selected a payload. You just launch it straight. It will create a script. It will have written a payload for you. Inside, it will written a payload for you. Like you write it into a file. So when you just choose either of these MSF console, it will just create a section for you. So this is a summary of the code. Mr. Lori, do you want to add more to what I've just said?
Great, Adimefe, do you want to add something?
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, good afternoon.
Let me give a brief summary of this tool, what it does. The tool is called X-Hacker. Before a penetration tester does hacked into a system,
You want to
there
share
are
your
steps
screen?
it takes.
Hello, you want to share your screen for the next 3 minutes to actually do a summary?
Should I stop
I'm not
sharing?
with my system here.
Okay, can you see my own screen, Grace? You can use, you can explain from my screen, right?
Okay, no problem.
All right,
The first
just
step penetration tester takes, first of all, it does what is called information gathering, and that is done by scanning. So that's the first option of our script. It does a scan on the target using Nmap as the tool. This can enable you narrow down your attack on the victim. You know the services that is being run on that target system, on how to exploit it. The second one used to gain access. If you check our script, you see that we have seen the services being run. We have used MSF console to check for those vulnerabilities in accessing the target system. Then we gain access into that target system. If we have gained access into that target, we maintain our access into it, thereby operating the target remotely. Even if the target tends to log off from the system, we do what we call persistent backdoor. Even if the target logs off from the system, we can still access the target system. And lastly, if you are a penetration tester with good intention, you can then analyze the vulnerabilities. But if it falls into the wrong hand, you can then exploit the target system. You can you can check for the activities, you can on the camera, you can record, you can do keylogger to store their credentials and all that. That's what this script is embedded in.
Okay, Mr. Ilori, do you want to give a summary on what you guys did?
Hello, sir. Can you invite him back to the stage?
Yeah, I've invited him back to the stage just now.
Okay. It's just to see anything.
Okay. I'm back now. Sorry,
good.
My network just threw me out of the stage.
Okay, all right.
So
you want to round up?
Okay, so in rounding up, basically, we've just demonstrated the need for us to automate the process. What we did is on the side of the technical person, how it helps the penetration tester to automate his job. We all know how doing things on a routine basis can become boring, and then because you do things the same day every time, it can get lost in what you do. And in addition to that, it can also affect your ability to do things accurately. You may not be in the same mood every time, but because you have a tool that helps automate the process, it helps your speed. Like I shared in my screen earlier on, it helps the speed, it helps in delivering accuracy, and it helps the business too, because you can always meet up with targets. If your customer is expecting you to deliver on time, because you have a tool, you can always help keep the business, meeting up to the minimum time that is required for a business to come back online. So automation is on the side of the technician or the technician that is penetrate, or the side of the pen tester. It helps him to make sure the work is done appropriately, and it helps the business, because if vulnerabilities and errors or loopholes in the system or the network are quickly identified, it can easily be mitigated, and it can easily be taken care of and avoid further loss or impact on the business as a whole. So basically, that is what we have done, and we once again want to thank Think Cyber for giving us this opportunity to do this, to learn this. Several months ago, we have not thought of being able to do it, but we have been equipped properly, and it's a big opportunity that we are looking forward to take to the next level.
Thank you, Group 3. Thank you, Group 3. It's been a journey since 12 noon. Cyberdome, the professors from the universities, if you have any question, we're actually now in question and answer time. You have any question, Mr. Olushola Odunride, or you want to actually have access to them on an interview, you can let us know. They're always available to be interviewed. But I'll pause for like 10 minutes to see if there's any question from any of the companies and these universities here. for the students and for the demonstration. Sorry. I want to bring in Mr. Sylvian, Think Cyber, to actually give us a closing remark. So that he'll give us a closing remark, then we actually wait for the question and answer session. So I'm bringing Mr. Sylvian down to the stage. So please landmark any of the Cyber Dome. If you have any questions for us, you can send it, or Mr. Aula, you have any questions for us? Okay, we have actually come to the end of the presentation of our cohorts. There are about 12 of them who are available to be hired immediately, and I'm sure you can reach out to us from your from the necessary quarters. Thank you all for attending this session. On behalf of the Think Cyber International team and on behalf of everybody, I want to thank you for being part of this session. The videos are actually sent automatically to your email. You can actually access it, and we will actually even download and upload to YouTube so that you can view. We are very grateful. We are humbled by the people who attended this job fair. Our standard here is actually to over-deliver. We get customer requirements and we over-deliver our perform. So I'm sure you'll be most abreast and impressed by the performance of our cohorts when you employ them. Thank you all, and thanks for attending this session. We'll be looking forward to your questions and your requests. We'll call it a day here. Thanks once more for attending, and for the universities, we'll reach out to you through the necessary channel. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your day. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. It's been an eventful year for Think Cyber, and I'm sure it's actually ending well. Good day all, the cohorts. Bye-bye, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
All right, thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you all to the viewers for attending this. Thank you, Mr. Ikem, for organizing it.
Okay, all right.
And
you're welcome.